Welcome, FinTech Talkers, to another edition of the FinTech Talk Show. I'm your host, Patty. My guest today is Sebastien Borget, the co-founder and CEO of The Sandbox, a pioneer in gaming, user blockchain in gaming, and now AI in gaming. Sebastien also became the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance in 2020, a nonprofit organization of 250 key members of the industry. He was named in the top 100 most influential people in crypto by Cointelegraph, a mover and shaker. And welcome, Sebastien, to the FinTech Talk Show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Paddy. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Before we get into the sandbox, resurgence of blockchain, which seems to be happening again, and AI, obviously the big thing, how AI is influencing your industry, the gaming industry. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to start the Sandbox?
Absolutely. Well, so today I'm the co-founder and COO of the Sandbox. But so I'm 40 years old. I've been a serial entrepreneur all my life. I started in 2007 together with my business partner, Artur Madrid. And I've always been like curious, like a geek, always trying to understand how things work and how can I make them myself. So as soon as I got my first video game console back in my teenage days, like the first thing I really dreamed about is like one day I would love to make my own video game. It turned out like it was very hard, like not so accessible. You needed to have access to like specific hardware kits for the console, like the skill set required like was hard to achieve. So programmers, all those jobs in the gaming industry, and it was quite expensive. Fast forward, I looked at like the studies to like how to enter the video game industry, and again, like specific studies, not a lot of school and training, and so on. So I kind of like gave up at that time. I became an engineer, graduated in network and telecommunication, and did an exchange program at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. In the end, met my co-founder there, and like then like joined him from our first startup, which was in peer-to-peer. We sold it out 2 years later. We co-founded the second startup in like user-generated content, people uploading their photo, video, and music in the cloud before Netflix, before Spotify, and sharing it with friends. Sold that company as well. And then our third company was actually around 2010, 11, like leveraging the growth of smartphones and finally the idea that anyone from their own garage, small teams could make their own video games. So at that moment, I said, "Oh, my childhood dream can become true again. I can make my own game." And so we started with that. And at that moment, I thought like, well, making my own game is great, but it's not enough. Like, how do I enable anyone to make their own game? And the magic with smartphone is essentially like they have like this touch screen, which provide this new kind of interaction. Back then, like there was no touch screen. There was like adaptive screen with a stylus for people who are my age, born with the Palm Pilot and other devices. So like touching with your finger was kind of magic. And we thought like if you could create game, drop pixel just by touching with your finger the screen and share it to other users in an online gallery, people would love it. And that's what we did. So we created the first version of Sandbox. By then, it was a 2D pixel art game where people could just draw with their finger, give life to pixelated world. Fast forward, we had a massive success, 40 million downloads on mobile, 70 million creation made by players. We were kind of like the 2D Minecraft on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
But we also became we became really frustrated in the way that our top creators were leaving after months, after years. Even we were very close, very engaged, featuring them and so on. Social recognition wasn't sufficient. They needed something more. It's very simple. Like when we don't just live out of passion, love and passion, but we also need some money to live in this world. And so the financial part, like how do we give a form of revenue to those creators? It wasn't possible on the App Store and Google Play Store. You cannot send a payment to one of your player just like that as a developer. So we looked into doing like manual contracts, PayPal payment, and so on, but it was not scalable. And we struggled with that until we found in 2017 about blockchain technology
Mm-hmm.
and more specifically NFTs, non-fungible assets that represent any kind of digital asset on chain. Initially, we discovered it by discovering CryptoKitties, which like a game where you breed virtual cats, where players can buy from each other, can exchange, can even sell on the marketplace and pay with crypto. And we found that this technology would actually be a revolution if we applied it not only to video games, but to Sandbox. And we enable any creator to make their content, exchange it with other users, sell it on marketplace, and receive payments without us being involved in the middle. And that really drove our decision to now let's push like to empower anyone to become a creator using the technology at the core and driving them with great content. And so we reworked Sandbox in 2019 to become a 3D virtual world multiplayer that used blockchain at the core. And fast forward, today Sandbox, the new version with blockchain counts over 6.3 million users. With a wallet, we are one of the leading decentralized virtual world in Web3. More than 50% of our audience came for the first time to Web3 thanks to all the major brands partnership we've done with celebrities like Snoop Dogg. Recently, we announced Jurassic World in Sandbox, or we had other brands like Warner Music, Ubisoft, Attack on Titan, and so on. And we bring those brands toward our community of creators so they can play, have fun, and own the experience they make and eventually monetize them.
No, awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing. What a wonderful kind of background. And like you were a gamer yourself, so you had the passion, but you turned that into a vocation. And more importantly, passion doesn't pay. So you build the economics around it. And also one of the things I see in the trajectory of your earlier companies, although the Web3 term is more recent, maybe last maybe 10 or less than 10, 7, 8 years, I think. Around 2017, 2018 is when it was coined for creators to monetize on the web and NFT came in. But even your earliest startup, Sebastien, I think you were kind of modeled like that. You were building community, peer-to-peer sharing
Yeah.
and stuff. So it was there. Your Web3 model was there in your work, and maybe you're instrumental in kind of creating that notion of the creator's economy. That's fascinating.
Thank you. I do. You're right. Like I guess, like the DNA of like relying on peer-to-peer network, the contribution of like sharing data, sharing bandwidth, and then sharing content online with each other is essential. And that's, I think, like I always link back to this idea of like a distributed internet, where we are all, each one of us are actor in a network. We contribute with our time, with our creativity, or with our content and data, and all of that should also we should be rewarded for that enough. So like how that data we exchange or we contribute to a network that can be a physical or virtual network or a game platform where people create and submit content can be valuable not only for like the platform itself but for the contributor as well.
Gotcha. And I know a lot of people have been kind of analyzed if they are Satoshi. Has that happened to you? Because given your background, you very well could be. I know it's not so good a thing now to be kind of thought of as Satoshi because of various reasons. But has anyone thought of that about you, Sebastien?
No, no, I think I comes much later in the space of blockchain. Like I discovered about blockchain technology around 2017. I read the white paper and learned about Bitcoin mining at that time. I guess I might have stumbled about it a bit earlier, as I remember some of our like younger interns or employees were starting to do Bitcoin mining, and I didn't understood when they were saying, "Oh, I'm buying this computer for 300 euros, and within 2 months it will make its money back by making this thing." Didn't pay enough attention at that time because I was not too focused on the financial aspects of like the why. Um, but and it's probably a question for another debate. Like, where is the world going now regarding like adoption of digital assets? And is it still aligned with the original vision of Satoshi to create like a decentralized, censorship-free, like distributed ledger for sharing value and money? And from my recent participation into various digital asset roundtable, etc., it looks like the mainstream adoption of the technology here, blockchain, distributed ledgers, crypto, Web3, will actually come from the acceptance and the creation of a lot of regulation around how it's going to be governed and used. So we're getting a bit far, but maybe the adoption it's what needed for like the broader adoption in the end by the whole industry and financial sectors.
Yeah, the DAO and the decentralized jurisdiction. I know Balaji talks about it. I have actually written about it like almost 5 years ago. So I'll get to that. I think I want to talk about that because you've kind of created that in the sandbox a little bit, governance. But Sebastian, I have a very diverse audience. I have to say it's not like fully gaming. So I have a lot of fintech, AI, obviously, everyone's an AI audience now. The traditional crypto, like the DeFi and that, not just gaming, right? And a lot of banking and financial. So, can we establish some foundation for our audience on kind of the evolution of gaming? So, you kind of talked about in the introduction with kind of the mobile gaming from the boxes gaming, right? So obviously it started with the Nintendos, the Xbox, and things, and then became mobile, and then you have play to earn models, and now using blockchain, and then now you have AI playing a big role in hyper personalizing experience, even game development and things like that. So can you paint like I think it's a lot kind of to paint the whole history and where it's going, but you are the best person to do it. So can you kind of tell us about where the industry came from and where it's going?
Wow. All right, history of video gaming music. Well, the first thing is like every one of us is a gamer. Like the definition of who's a gamer, it's so restrictive. People think it's like that guy, usually that a man, who's playing a shooter game on a console. Like no, like it's also that woman who's playing that Candy Crush game in a subway or that fashion game and so on. And so we have 3.5 billion gamers around the world, and
Wow.
content and the diversification of content and audience keeps evolving so that I'm pretty sure like every one of us has at least one mobile game on his phone and playing something. And the goal of Sandbox is to keep extending that by allowing anyone to become a creator, making all sort of gameplay. With new creators means new games, bigger audience again. Now about the history of gaming. So yes, we really there was the arcade area and which promoted like a lot of like 2D games originally and then 3D games. We were playing. It was heavily social. Like we were playing in cafe, in sport arena, and so on. One or two people at the same time. We were looking around and so on. Then came out like console and computers, people playing at home again, driving mostly 2D pixel art again. Then we had like the race toward like graphics. So 8 bits, 16 bits, 32 bits, 64, 128. I think it stopped around 256, and then people didn't care anymore about like the graphic power. But at that time, graphic power was synonymous with like a great improvement of quality and also a diversification of gameplay because we added the third dimension for many games that like enable like deeper games, more realistic and so on. From there, like we progressively realize that the innovation cannot be just in the race toward like the better graphic. Better graphic is also means like more cost toward like production of those games.
Right.
And the innovation needs to come from somewhere else. Like we cannot be in an infinite constant race toward like most expensive production. It's very competitive at the top. Only a few of those AAA games that takes 5, 10 years, 100 of millions of dollars of budget will be profitable. That's what we are seeing in the industry. So now the competition evolved toward like more creativity, more fun, multiplayer technology, VR, AR, so immersive technologies, and social gameplay. And the best example of that has been Nintendo, who took a different path from like just like the the computing power and the graphic side, but like more the social game, innovative game, leveraging on its license with 3DS, and then with the Wii and the Wii U, and now like the Switch. And today, I think we have even the Switch 2 being announced. Those consoles focus more on like how we can make family-friendly casual games that are mostly fun rather than like AAA higher-end graphic games. And those consoles, they enlarge the audience. So now we have like we thanks to the Nintendo, we had more female players, older and younger audience who play video games.
Mhm.
And that kind of led as well like the smartphone area for video games. Smartphone that put games in the hands of everyone and introduced these snack batch games like you can play for only 1, 2 minutes in the
Mhm.
toilet, in at home or in the transport. Let's be honest, that's where most of us have time to play
Right.
nowadays.
Right.
Um, Games that are we call casual or hyper casual with very low production cost, a lot of fun and addictiveness, and a new business model that's called free to play, ads based, and with in-app purchase where like you can download for free and then you have a choice to buy additional currency and content pack to upgrade your experience. About 1 to 3% of users will actually convert into buyer and the rest will play for free. And that was the key pillar of the free-to-play business model, which kept improving and improving year after years. Game studio rely on like live ops and other battle pass and different gacha strategies to increase monetization and engagement of players to the point where um, it's no longer about like acquiring new users, but is more like around how to retain your existing audience and
Mhm.
how you increase the LTV, the lifetime value from such users.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so top grossing titles doesn't necessarily have a lot of new users, but they have a very long, faithful audience that plays for years and keep engaging and spending hundred to thousands of dollars over the course of the lifetime of those games. And um, fast forward, like innovation that kept being introduced in the 2020 to 2030 decade have been essentially around the introduction of blockchain technology and digital ownership of the asset by players, creating like alternative economy, player owned, community-driven incentive and network effect, and AI. About blockchain, it really you were touching on like the play to earn business model where
Mhm.
players actually would be able to earn rewards and rewards that this time have value because it can be exchanged on marketplace, DEX, and centralized exchange for actual fiat or other cryptocurrency and have given rise to the games like Axie Infinity were the first to like give rise to this model where a lot of players came and turned their playtime into a potential revenue stream, and it really introduced the idea that games can become platform, can create a lot of jobs around it with guilds manager, and in case of Sandbox, content creator, host, virtual estate, a reseller, event organizer, and so on, that can allow to generate revenue on the gaming alongside the game, not only through playing it or streaming it or having esport high level competition, but
Mhm.
also at
Mhm.
different level of engagement. Um, we've seen there's certain limits of that business model. So it was a very exciting time when that model appeared because it was one of the fastest adopted innovation across video game. But also like it was maybe too early in its design because it was a zero-sum game at the end. It lacked a bit of the injection of external revenue stream and players actually spending more to keep the game economy ongoing. But that's not a bad thing because it really broke this 15 years long industry of free to play that was becoming actually that has too many issues. One, it started to lack creativity because all games were copycat of each other, just optimizing for KPIs, so data driven, but not necessarily on the creative side. And second, as soon as like new privacy laws have been introduced, it created a shift in the market because as you could not no longer target users based on like their preference and behavior. The cost of acquisition have risen a lot, whereas the world also entered a new phase post-COVID where um, war with Ukraine, inflation in the US, economy of China not being at its best, let's call it that way. It really decreased the overall consumer spending into gaming and entertainment. So LTV have dropped a lot. So it became less profitable for game developer. And actually, 2024 became really a black year for the gaming industry. I think with the highest, a year where like the overall revenue spent, the total spend of players across gaming industry didn't increase but decreased by 5-6%, I think, over previous year, and a lot of layoffs from like all the top AAA studio down to like a small industry, small studio closure. That was the highlight at the awards, at the Game Awards in December, with a lot of like mention about it. Um, and this is a new challenge, but it's also new opportunities. That means like developers have to become more creative and turn out to new business model. And blockchain has offered this new blockchain model where business model where like the value is being um, I think there is a more fair distribution of value between players, developers, and platform. Players being also valuable contributors through their time, through the recommendation they bring to other players, through the content they generate, and more. Um, so right now we are in this phase where like we don't know which business model will actually become the next big winner, but there is a lot of experimentation happening, meaning like also like some games will emerge as the next future winners, but also a lot of things we see right now might not be long sustained. Is it a
Yeah,
bad thing? I think no. I think it's a necessary step of evolution
yeah.
until like we find that new model. And how is AI fitting into that? And sorry, it's a long monologue trying to
No, no,
give you the
you're
big
doing great.
picture.
Thanks. Yeah.
Um, AI is a fantastic technology as well that democratize access again to content creativity. Like within just a prompt of text, you can generate 2D model, 3D model, videos, and now even full games without a line of code with vibe coding, for example. So creators and players are using AI to generate 2D content, marketing videos, 3D levels, etc. And even simple games that reminds me of like a HTML Flash game back in the day or the beginning of casual gaming. It's still clunky, but it's promising and it's evolving very fast. Every 6 months, you have this major, or every new chat GPT release, there is a major step up that pave the way of where it can go in terms of creativity. So it's a tool that's available for developers to, first of all, improve existing gameplays, diversify, generating content faster, saving cost on production time, shipping game much faster as well, and improving the user experience with things like sentient NPC. So NPC standing for non-playable characters. You
Uh-huh.
know, those characters usually that you talk to in RPG game and they keep repeating
Uh-huh.
always the same sentence over and over. Now they become smart. They can they can hold full conversation with you like they were human. And sometimes you can even create new quests. So like there's an infinite loop of gameplay thanks to that.
Wow.
That's one of the area. Where AI can take us next, I think AI can invent new gameplays uh, alongside the creativity of humans. It can hybrid uh, and mash up some of like every element of games that we have to invent things that we haven't seen. Can AI invent a new chess game and so on? Maybe not like yet, but let's see. Let's focus. Um, let's follow and experiment again, and that might come. Mm.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for that. That's wonderful. And I have so many things to unpack there. So, but we're limited on time. On that hyper personalization, the AI portion, right? And AI is it's 2025. Everyone wants to know about what AI can do. So that generative gaming aspect. I've talked about this in kind of more broadly in entertainment context that say a Genflix, right? Genflix is like a Netflix that generates a show based on your preferences on plots and characters,
Wow.
right? So it's
Yeah.
not there, but say somebody is building it in the lab, and maybe we don't have the bandwidth just yet to kind of put it all together, but it might come. And you are seeing that in gaming already, right? Creating new games like the new chess you said and stuff. I think Sam Altman talks about it, right? And the AGI debate, I don't, it's very academic, but if AI can create new physics, new biology and stuff like that, that's when we know they are ahead of humans. But in things like gaming, if they can develop a new chess, that's a huge leap as well. Um,
Mhm.
no, but it's fascinating. But let's contextualize something to what you have released recently. I know you've released the Alpha Season 5. I know some of the characters behind you are probably from the Alpha Season 5. So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so absolutely. Alpha Season 5 is like an exciting moment. We just inaugurated it on Monday this week. It's the fifth season, and like it's been a very successful model for us at Sandbox. Season are like several weeks long events where we bring some of the top brands that we partner with in Sandbox to showcase like what the metaverse can be and what you can do into it. And last year, season four was our best event ever, brought over 580,000 unique players over 10 weeks, generated million of blockchain transaction. And now season five started. This year, we're accelerating. Instead of launching one season a year, we're going to launch 3 or 4 seasons a year. It kicked off this Monday for 6 weeks long. It will bring 44 experiences with major brands like Jurassic Park you're seeing here, and bringing as well various celebrities along the way. So we'll have Ati's Korean, very famous Korean K-pop group as well.
Mhm.
We'll have like DJ and celebrity like Steve Aoki, Deepak Chopra, a very important guru of
Yeah.
like um, wellness,
Wellness, yeah.
well-being, and
Uh-huh.
mindfulness. Yeah. And other surprises. So 44 experiences, some with top brands and celebrities, some with the best of content made by the community. People can come in and play to explore, complete quests, compete with each other in time races, trying to get the best time, earn points, and unlock various rewards with up to $1 million in prize to be distributed around among all the participants. We introduced new features and ability for avatars. One that I love the most is flying. Like flying in the metaverse is just like a dream, my childhood dream come true. And we do have surprises as well for fans of Jurassic World and dinosaurs. Again, like who isn't, right? You can collect eggs, you can breed them, evolve them by completing quests in game, and unlock different tiers of dinosaurs as well for your collection. And manage a dino park is in one of the experiences in Sandbox 2. So a
Wow.
lot of fun. The community is excited and raving about it, sharing those memories online, and it builds up over time. Like we playing together, we're creating together, participating to those challenges, forming like new bonds, and getting a feeling of like what is the future of gaming and what is the future of like our interaction into virtual world.
Wow. No, fascinating. So you talked about some numbers there. So how many players, say in Alpha Season 5, I know you talked 3.5 billion gamers overall, but in terms of just to put in perspective for Alpha Season 5, how many gamers, how many creators, and say how many brands are typically involved in something like Alpha Season?
Yes, well, this is just 2 days, so it's very fresh. Like we
Yeah.
had great, great participation in the beginning. Usually, in terms of like the number of brand, we would be 40% brands, 60% creators. So here, I think we bring 15 to 20 different brands unveiled every week across the next 6 weeks. We're already seeing over 55 minutes of playtime. And very interesting metric, like we do have a great engagement in terms of sales as well. So like people have been buying the eggs, people have been buying the alpha pass that unlock extra reward as you play through. So that's also an important aspect as well for us to highlight. Like not only the metaverse is far from dead, but people are spending time and spending money to engage with it, which we hope is creating a positive behavior that we can keep scaling up over time.
Yeah. No, so we talked about the future already. We talked about AI and the generative AI potential. We talked about blockchain. But one thing that came up earlier, Sebastian, around the governance, right? About voting rights, the DAO, or these virtual jurisdictions, so to speak. I think you've done that in the sandbox, right? You've given the creators, given the players some kind of voting rights. So talk a little bit about that and talk about how that might kind of evolve, right, to kind of create these digital jurisdictions.
Right. So the way I see it is like every game in a way is like a digital nation. The players are like the citizen of that digital nation. And until now, like every game has been a very a dictatorship. Like, and the dictators are like the creator of the game. They set the rule, they
Right.
decide everything, the value of the economy, the price, and they can ban players without any recourse. Now with blockchain and Web3, players have more power in those games. How? Because they participate first with the economy. If they own the token, the utility token of the platform that usually serve or the game that usually serve as a way of payment, then they also have a way to participate toward this economy and be exposed to the success or show that they are less interested by selling the token of those games, creating a drop in the price. The second thing is they also have like access to our like most not all the game now is still very new, but with the DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization, they can leverage their ownership of different assets of those games, whether it's a token of the game or other asset like in Sandbox lands, so lands and sand, to actually vote and participate submit their own proposal or participate in decision by supporting other proposals that can support the development roadmap and its priority, can support external third-party initiative toward education, growth of ecosystem, attracting new players, or building other product and services around the game that can make the life of players easier. And that's what we've done at Sandbox. I think we have now 26 proposals on our DAO that's been submitted and voted upon. We've supported various initiatives from like supporting open source development for new tools that traders wanted to have, academy in various countries like Philippines, initiative to bring and support, I don't know, various communities like women in tech to attend the World Osaka Expo and be supported in their mission there to onboard more women into entrepreneurship and Web3. Uh, those are a few of the things that the community wanted to happen and supported, and we're excited that we're pioneer in the idea that games can be owned and controlled by the community of players and not just like developers.
Yeah. So it's all these decentralized models, right? Like yours and like in DeFi and all, they are truly democratic in many ways, more than say the existing model, the centralized models, which have this, meaning they are democratic or they are in democratic jurisdictions, but they have this top-down hierarchy. So it's interesting how these will evolve, right? The decentralized models, because it is a threat to more the establishment, right? Because you kind of lose the control and lose the power. But it's fascinating how this might evolve. We have to wrap things up, Sebastian. I know you have to go, but like I might have listeners who are not today game creators, or even players for that matter. So how can they get looped into the sandbox economy? Where should they start? What should they do?
Well, well, be careful. And once the virus got you, and you start becoming thinking, oh, I can create things. Like now you get hooked and you want to create more and more. So we have so many of those stories, people with diverse backgrounds. They never thought they could create game and so on. They tried it and like they got like hooked into it and they found a new vocation. It's really exciting. You can learn more about Sandbox. Just go to our website, www.sandbox.game, or follow us on social media, the Sandbox Game on Twitter, X, or same on Discord. We do provide a lot of free resource made by the community themselves, like to onboard you as a creator, how to get started in the metaverse. We want you to have fun and receive your first NFT and token on us as you get started and try Sandbox to explore the metaverse. So my recommendation is be curious. Everyone can be a creator, and I feel like and we have great example of that, by the way. We didn't talk so much, but at some point we had brands and partners from fintech like DBS had like an internal team build a whole experience and game on Sandbox around ESG goals and like use a lot of gamification. We had like a partners company like Standard Chartered or HSBC a few years back that also opened experiences in the metaverse to experiment and have a virtual land and virtual real estate in the space. So you can see no matter your background, I'm sure you can become more creative and see like how metaverse can provide a new dimension for you to bring your to life your imagination.
Oh, awesome. And I love those fintech use cases. And I think they're more in Asia and less in the US, but maybe the US banks will look into that. So I think DBS has been very forefront in a lot of the innovative stuff. So it's interesting that they did that. I think even in financial literacy and financial planning, where there's simulations involved and things like that, I think the metaverse and gamification of that could play a big role. And I think it'll otherwise they teach how you manage your credit card debt and stuff. But if you gamify it, I think people will be more engaged and find it valuable. So there's a lot of opportunity. So for those listeners who are looking at potential ways for improving education of their audience, like in financial literacy, maybe check out the sandbox and see if you can partner with them to build something. But this has been fascinating, Sebastien. Would love to have you back and talk a little bit more about what AI is really doing in gaming and other things. There are a lot of topics that you can cover. But for everyone else, until next time, keep exploring, keep building, and we'll see you in the metaverse. Thank you, Sebastien, for being on the Fintech
Absolutely.
Talk Show.
Thank you so much, Paddy, and see you all in the metaverse very soon. Bye bye.
Okay.